Welcome to Vivistory, where we vivisect stories is why that's the name. This is our first video about craft, so let's start with some basics. Conflict, character arcs, beginning, middle, and end. Right? Wrong! Because we're going to talk about something that's even more fundamental. It's a concept that was given a name over 1,000 years ago and has been used widely, deliberately, by writers ever since. It's the traditional East Asian 4-act structure! And guys, it's so good. You know how corgis are dogs, but not all dogs are corgis? And if we make a Venn diagram about it, it looks like this. All Hollywood movies fit East Asian 4-act structure. Through convergent evolution, Hollywood accidentally reinvented this thing. But they're only willing to touch a small subset of the possibilities. We're leaving all this on the table. Stuff like vibing, realism, weird shit. Why are East Asian writers doing this when Hollywood writers won't? Frickin' Aristotle!
Our proposal was that a good story is the imitation of a deed.
And you can't have a deed without a doer, so there's an active protagonist.
And one that has some kind of magnitude.
High stakes.
Story that is whole has a beginning, middle, and an end.
3-act structure. And then there's a ramble that boils down to narrative economy. Then for 2,000-ish years, that was it. In the West, you were either using this model or you were just winging it. Through the 1800s to the 1920s, writers developed the model you learned in school, which we'll call the Western literary model. But Hollywood kept elaborating. In the 1970s, Sid Field added the midpoint, the game changer of the story. Whatever the characters were doing before the midpoint, they're going to be doing something different after. So that's where Hollywood currently is. Setup, promise of the premise, midpoint, bad guys close in, conclusion. But what's going on with the Eastern structure? There isn't one known inventor. It emerged from Tang Dynasty 4-line poetry, and spread to fiction, comedy, theater, game design, everything. It has different names in different cultures, but they all roughly translate to introduction, development, twist, conclusion. So what, it's just the same? Not quite. Let's explore the differences with an example. Parasite. Introduction. The Kim family is struggling through poverty. It's grueling and humiliating and seemingly inescapable. Until the son hears about a job tutoring the daughter of the wealthy Park family. The son prints out a fake diploma and goes to the Park's house. In the Western model, this is the break into Act 2. We even have a literal hero's journey crossing of the threshold. In the Eastern model, we're still in Act 1. We can't be in Act 2 until we've been at least fleetingly introduced to the central cast. The naive Park mom, the successful Park dad, etc. And then, the Park mom mentions that she's looking for an art teacher for her son, and the hero has an idea. In the next scene, he approaches the house with his sister.
잠깐. 제시카 외동딸 일리노이 시카고 과선배는 김치모 그는 네 사촌.
And now we see the full picture. The Kims are going to infiltrate the Park household. That's the unstable situation at the heart of the story. So now we're ready to break into Act 2. And that's a really important distinction. In the Western model, the story would be driven by conflict. The Kims want to escape poverty. In the Eastern model, it's driven by the unstable situation of the Kims Khan. Things can't stay as they are. Either the Kims will succeed and become secure, or they'll get caught. They're not exactly driving the plot. Their fate is. It's a subtle difference, but it dramatically expands the playing field. In the Western model, the Kims have to want to get rich for the entire movie, at least until the 3rd act. In the Eastern model, as long as the audience can tell we're working towards answering what's going to happen with this grift, we're still on track. A starker example of this is Spirited Away. In the Western model, the plot's driven by Chihiro's desire to rescue her parents. That would mean she should spend at least some time trying to look for a pig-to-human spell or whatever. In the Eastern model, the movie's driven by Chihiro can't survive in the magical world and stay a spoiled brat. She's going to have to evolve. And if she forgets about her parents for a minute to save Haku, whatever. Saving her parents isn't the actual point of the movie. Back to Parasite. The Act 2s, or Act 2As, or whatever, of the East Asian and Hollywood model are basically identical. In Hollywood, it's sometimes called the promise of the premise, meaning the part of the movie where the poster comes to life. In Parasite, that's the Kims infiltrating the Park house, getting rid of the driver, the housekeeper, and lying their way into the vacancies. And it works. Now the Kims all have well-paying jobs. And when the Parks go away, the Kims enjoy a sliver of luxury. In the Western model, this is the midpoint. The Hollywood midpoint is usually either seeming victory or seeming defeat. But the East Asian model goes way harder than that. And so, the doorbell rings. It's the former housekeeper. In a frenzy, she forces her way in and unlocks a secret corridor to reveal that her goddamn husband has been living in the basement. You basically can't do this in Hollywood. Or if you did, you'd have to foreshadow it so hard that it would be obvious. And you'd have to intimately tie it into the central conflict. That's why Act 2B of Hollywood scripts is famously hard to write. It has to be surprising, but not too surprising. And it has to check like 100 other boxes. In the East Asian model, you can just be like, what would be a fun thing to happen? Probably it should make the heroes' lives harder, bonus points if it's thematically resonant, but it's a relative free-for-all. You can even work backwards, start with an interesting surprise, and think of a fun thing for that surprise to interrupt. How cool is that? No Hollywood movie has ever been written Act 2B first. What the hell? Something to note, both Western and Eastern stories can be kind of fractal. Stories are made of acts are made of scenes are made of beats. In Western stories, scenes usually adhere to the Western literary model. Hero wants something, stakes rise, resolution. A midpoint isn't required. In Eastern stories, scene structure doesn't seem to be as much of a focus, but beats often hit the 4-act structure. Like, additionally, acts of Eastern stories are often split into 4 sub-acts. And sub-acts. So the whole tree looks like this. This gives us not just plot structure, but also pacing. It's objectively a lot to take in, so let's practice. When the screen says twist intro, we're here. When the screen says twist intro, we're here. Let's start adding that in. In Parasite, once the doorbell rings, we're in the twist section of the movie. Until we get to Act 4, every twist and every beat is allowed to be big. I should mention that big, consistent subversions of expectations are one of Bong Joon-ho's, the director and co-writer of Parasite's, trademarks. So he's going to lean into the twists a little bit harder than most writers would. We reveal a secret passage. We meet Basement Guy. The housekeeper discovers the Kim's secret. The housekeeper blackmails the Kims. The Parks come home early. The Kims accidentally kill the housekeeper. The Parks start canoodling on top of the Kims' hiding place. The Kims' apartment floods with sewage. In the disaster shelter, the dad admits to his son that he has no idea how he's going to fix things. Now, Act 4, conclusion. We're going to resolve the evolving situation from Acts 1 and 2 and integrate it with the surprise in Act 3 for a satisfying conclusion. In the Western model, we're probably hitting Act 3 at the same time. But in the Western version, the Kim should be barreling into a big conflict. Like, maybe they plan to kill the housekeeper's husband, or flee the country, or pull off one big last heist, or something. In the Eastern version, nope. The Kims are just along for the ride. Because their birthday camping trip got rained out, the Parks are throwing an impromptu party, so they call the Kims in to work overtime. And the contrast between the two worlds has never been starker. The Parks are swanning around, having a great time, while the Kims are exhausted. Then, the Kim's son brings a meal down to the basement for the captives. He doesn't know the housekeeper is dead. But the basement guy wants revenge, so he smashes his head with a rock and escapes. Then he wanders into the Parks' party and stabs the Kim's daughter. The Kim mom gets ready to butcher him. The Park son faints. In the middle of the chaos, the Kim dad realizes the Park dad doesn't care if his daughter lives or dies, and that he sees him the same as he sees the basement guy, because he smells like the sewagey apartment, tying that back in. And he can't take it anymore. So he stabs the Park dad. Realizing what he's done, he runs away. The Kim's son is mostly okay after getting bashed, but the daughter dies. The mother and son get probation instead of jail time, and keep living their life in the basement. Things are pretty quiet, until the son realizes that the dad, on the run from the cops, is living in the Park's secret basement. He vows to get rich and buy the house so his dad can be free, but it's been foreshadowed that that will never happen. The end. So, to recap, what makes East Asian stories different from Hollywood ones? They're driven by change and unstable situations, rather than conflict and motivation. They don't have to be economical, streamlined, or elegant, largely because they don't require central conflict. Hollywood movies aren't always economical. They're usually economical, but, East Asian stories are allowed to have passive heroes, and those heroes don't have to have character arcs. Notice that Parasite doesn't really have any. And finally, climaxes are slightly different. The plot still has to resolve, just like in a Western story, but there's no expectation of high stakes or excitement. So yeah, all those tedious Marvel endings where you're like, can we just not? Yeah, we could just not. Let's never ever again. It's fine. Most of these differences boil down to the Eastern model being more flexible and permissive. So you may be wondering, are there any Hollywood movies that transcend the limits of the Western model? Yes. Ghostbusters. Quote the great Patrick H. Willems.
None of the characters in Ghostbusters has an arc. And as for the primary conflict, there really isn't one. There are no personal stakes for any of the Ghostbusters. Is that a problem?
Yes! Not with Ghostbusters, with Western narrative theory. From a Western perspective, the story should not work. But from the East Asian perspective, it's textbook. Intro. Ghosts are real, but nobody believes it, especially not stuck-up haters. And these guys are now unemployed, so they decide to start the Ghostbusters. Doesn't just this flat description excite you? Do you feel all that potential? It's like the peak of a roller coaster. We know the haters are going to have their worldview shattered, and these lovable weirdos are going to build a new life. Change is coming. That feeling is inherently riveting, and that's what's powering this story. Like, the goal is to make the audience say, "Ah, I see where this is going." Development. Ghostbusters ghostbust. Haters hate. It writes itself. Things evolve basically exactly as we expected, which means we're doing it right. Twist. Armageddon's coming. Conclusion. Armageddon! The haters look stupid, the Ghostbusters bust the ghost, now everyone believes and the Ghostbusters are heroes and everyone lives happily ever after. The end. So yeah, only the Eastern model can explain how Ghostbusters works. So if you want to write a Ghostbusters, look beyond the limitations of the Western viewpoint. The most striking difference between the two models is the twist. So let's explore a few. They're great. From a Western perspective, Eastern twists often feel way more random. Setup and payoff is still a thing in Eastern storytelling, but the rules seem to be a little different. Let's look at Parasite, the other one. I don't know why the alien's not in the live action. Parasite's one of my favorite works of art. Read the manga rather than watching the show. The show is blasphemy. The protagonist is a normal dude until Earth is besieged by psychopath parasite aliens that eat humans' heads and attach to their necks and then go on to eat additional humans. A parasite tries to eat the hero's brain, but gets stuck in his hand. After some negotiation, he and the parasite team up to kill all the other monsters and save humanity. So it's a fun, gory fighting manga about a boy and his alien psychopath friend. Until the hero gets gravely wounded, and the only way the alien can save him is to metastasize. But then when he wakes up, he's a psychopath too. He can't relate to humans anymore. He can't emote correctly. Everything that used to be important to him no longer matters. From a Western perspective, this is completely ridiculous. Since when can aliens metastasize? What are you talking about? But it works because the theme suddenly crystallizes. The hero thought he could team up with a monster and then go back to his life. But if you spend that much time with a monster, you're going to become a monster too. And even without the sci-fi, he never could have gone back. He has seen too much. So it was all inevitable. We should have known. Also, who says aliens can't metastasize? What do you want? Let's do a really fun one. Park Chan-wook's The Handmaiden. So this film, through the intro and the development, we're in one character's point of view. Then in the twist, we move into a new character's point of view. So we get a twist in the plot alongside a structural, formal twist. It's really cool. Next, let's do the one you've maybe all been waiting for. Attack on Titan Season 1. So the backstory is, giants, aka Titans, have decimated humanity and ate the protagonist's mom. And so he vows to kill them all and joins the army. After a grueling 4-episode-long battle, he finally gets eaten. So, he wakes up in his stomach. Knowing he's gonna die, he starts reminiscing about his friends and their mission to kill the Titans. But then... Then he starts reminiscing about his mom who got ate. Stomach plus mission to kill the Titans plus mom tragedy equals... And yeah, it's a really fitting end for this character. And this structure really What is... Yeah! This is not foreshadowed whatsoever. They don't even confirm that it's him for almost a full minute. It's glorious. And keep in mind, this is after a huge, horrible, grueling battle. So this is so cathartic that any thought of, this is ridiculous, is out the window. And once you start having thoughts again, it's like, wait, if they have a good guy Titan, they're gonna win the war. And wait, how many of these bad guy Titans are actually people? Dude, it's so good. And here's the last one, maybe you saw it coming. The Untamed. If you want to watch The Untamed, which you extremely should, I made a whole how-to guide, so you're welcome. And also skip to this time code if you don't want spoilers, but you're not going to watch it without spoilers, so, enjoy. The hero is trying to keep his siblings safe from an advancing army, and they're all falling apart. The sister got a life-threatening fever, the teenage little brother wants to go fight the whole army, and then goes catatonic. It's a disaster. They need food to keep the sister alive, so the hero leaves the safety of the inn. And when he comes back, the little brother is gone. He left to go fight the whole army by himself. And now the hero has to decide if he's gonna go save him or just take the sister and run. The brother leaving is maybe the most pivotal decision in the show. And it's a decision made by a side character off screen. In the Western version of the story, that would never happen. Most likely the little brother would be a secondary protagonist with his own character arc and subplot, and him leaving would be a big dramatic moment on screen. Or, the story would just focus on the hero's conflict with the army. And we'd pay lip service to the hero having to take care of his family, but really they're NPCs with no agency, and them misbehaving isn't really on the table. In fact, they did make a Western version of this story, 2005's War of the Worlds. Here's the idiot teenager trying to fight the whole army. The action rises a couple of times, so far so good. But here's the moment where he leaves.
Please let me go. You need to let me go.
Tom Cruise has to be there. Tom Cruise has to decide to let him go, because he's the main character, so he has to drive this plot point, and it has to be part of his character arc. Which is, definitely something. The War of the Worlds is a great example of a film that struggles to fit into the Hollywood mold. The first half is great. The second half is a cliche mess. How much freer and more authentic and more impactful would it be if they could just do this? Because sometimes bad things just happen. In a Western context, depicting that makes a hero a reactive protagonist. But what's wrong with that? How many people spend that much time in control of things? Are those stories not worth telling? So, is Western storytelling bad, actually? No. Lord of the Rings is good. Back to the Future is good. 5 stars, no notes. But is Western narrative theory bad, actually? Yes. Because either Western narrative theory is bad, or Totoro is bad. And so, central conflict, rising stakes, thorough foreshadowing, and character arcs are hereby optional forever. So if you want to move more towards using the Eastern model, the big questions you have to ask yourself are, what would be a fun premise? What are some fun scenes that could happen in that premise? How can we complicate that premise? Or alternatively, what would just be a big fun surprise? What's going to change throughout the story? What background do we need to enjoy Act 2? And also, what is our starting point that we're going to change from? And how am I going to tie it all together? And then from there, optionally, you can consider laying in some Western story elements. If you want to grab the audience by the throat rather than just vibe, then yeah, you probably want some stakes and conflict. And you definitely want all of these elements if you're writing a tragedy. And here's the thing. Aristotle was only talking about tragedy because he thought that was the only worthwhile kind of story because he was an idiot. And he identified the essential components because he's a genius. And for some reason, we apply those rules to all stories. No, veto. Western narrative theory is canceled. You're welcome. Video over. Goodbye. And that's it. Go forth and write a bunch of twists. Shout out in particular to this amazing video. I really recommend it. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Like and subscribe. The next video is about point of view in Rick and Morty. Or something else. I don't know. Have a great day.